I'm Jennifer Johnson. This presentation is for Introduction to Dissertation, Dr. Gail Grant, Professor, Mod 5 assignment. In this review of Chapter 3, we'll take a look at what research design is, where does population and sample come from, what are the procedures and instrumentation, how is data collected and analyzed, and what assumptions or limitations might there be. Before we do that, let's talk about research ethics, essential to scholarly research. Honesty, objectivity, integrity, carefulness, openness in every aspect of the study is essential. Being rational, objective, logical, being aware of any implicit biases early on to prevent and preclude any decisions and conclusions that may not be effective in the final analysis of the research. Research ethics requires the IRB rules be followed and adhered to completely. These rules particularly pertain to confidentiality and privacy of participants. Researchers must be cognizant and aware of any potential issues, seeking committee input and feedback if unsure, and being aware of any intellectual property issues. In this chapter, we know that research design is the plan to answer the research question or the problem, and that this design will ensure that data collected will effectively and accurately answer the research question. Qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods are the choices. Research methodology, big picture, is a procedure chosen to identify, select, and analyze information about the research topic. Validity and reliability of the study can actually be evaluated in this section of research. Qualitative research designs are defined as subjective and establish the why and how the phenomenon and the question, and this is in written format. Ethnography, narrative, phenomenological, grounded theory, and case study are opportunities for gathering that data. On the quantitative side, defined as more objective, establishing cause and effect, dealing in numbers, statistical analysis, descriptive, correlational, causal, comparative, quasi-experimental, and experimental research are the opportunities for collecting that data. When we talk about methodology, understand that population and sample are essential to the research. The population is the group the researcher wishes to draw conclusions about, and the sample is the group from which the researcher will collect the data. So population, the group the researcher wants to draw conclusions about, and the sample is a group from which the researcher will gather that data. Procedures. The design process is the chosen strategy to incorporate the study components into a comprehensive and organized manner. The goal to logically address the research question or the problem that must remain the focus. This includes the collection, the measurement, and the analysis of the data. When we talk about instrumentation and data collection, important to understand that there are instruments that are the tools that the researcher uses to collect, measure, analyze the research data. In collecting the data, the options include questionnaires, probably the most frequently used, interviews, observations, focus group discussions, and experiments. Data collection is an essential component of the research study. The data analysis is one of the most crucial components of the research. The interpretation of the data, summarization of the data, an analytical and logical explanation of the data, and a determination of patterns, relationships, and trends. So data analysis is the crux of the data collection process. Assumptions and limitations, areas over which the researcher has no control. Assumptions can also become a limitation. In this analysis, it is important to understand that these components of Chapter 3, the research design, the population and the sample, the procedures used, the instrumentation employed, how the data was collected and analyzed, and then the assumptions and limitations are all essential components of Chapter 3 methodology. These references will provide support for the presentation completed.